Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chase Chrisley worried for Julie to be around violent men. Chase Chrisley is worried for his mom, Julie Chrisley. She is going to have to be around violent men. He is not happy with what is going on. However, some fans think he needs to be on his best behavior, so his mom has a chance to get out of prison. There has been a lot going on with their family. Keep reading to find out more. The Chrisleys go to prison. Todd and Julie Chrisley are currently in prison. This is for tax evasion and fraud. Savannah gained custody of her two younger siblings, Chloe and Grayson. Fans were shocked when this came out. However, Julie has a chance to go home. They decided that they did not have enough evidence to prove she was involved. She has a resentencing hearing on September 25. This is her one chance to get out sooner and go home. She could even get out on house arrest. However, she has to go to court in person, which she was hoping to do it via Zoom. Chase Chrisley worried for his mom. Chase Chrisley is worried about his mother traveling with violent men. He took his concerns to social media. This is something their family is upset about. However, fans think this is a blessing for Julie. She is getting the chance to go home. However, Chase sees it as something bad could happen to his mother. Some fans do feel bad for Julie because she has been in the hospital for a while and now has to go travel. Regardless, fans are hoping she gets let out. It seems as though Chase thinks her going across the country is going to be dangerous. He does not want her to have to be shackled and moved from city to city. However, she does not have an option. This is her only chance at getting released. She may even be able to get on house arrest. Fans hope she receives good news. However, they think Chase should be grateful she is receiving this opportunity at all. Chase Chrisley had grown up watching his mother, Julie Chrisley, be the rock of their family. Her calm demeanor, her unwavering faith, and her steady voice of reason had always kept the often chaotic Chrisley household from tipping over into madness. Now, however, Chase found himself tossing and turning at night, plagued by the worst kind of fear, a helpless one. His mother was behind bars, living in a world she didn't belong in, surrounded by the kind of people she'd never imagined sharing space with. And the latest rumors, they had him reeling. Violent men, he whispered to himself, staring blankly at the dim screen of his phone. He had just read a leaked report that Julie might soon be transferred to a medium security facility where she would share grounds with male inmates, violent ones. Even if separated by fences and walls, the idea chilled him. Anything could happen in those places. Guards looked the other way. Staff could be paid off. Fear thrived in shadows. Chase had never been shy about his emotions when it came to his mom. Even during filming of Chrisley Knows Best, fans saw glimpses of how protective he was over her. And now, with her living in a federal facility that reportedly had issues with inmate aggression, his protective instincts were spinning out of control. He knew Julie had tried her best to be a model inmate. She led prayer circles, helped others write letters to their families, and even mentored younger inmates. But kindness in prison was sometimes mistaken for weakness. And Julie wasn't the type to throw fists or raise her voice. She didn't belong in a world where violence ruled. "Mom shouldn't be there," he muttered, running a hand through his disheveled blonde hair. "She's not made for that life." What made it worse was the transfer talk. Chase had received a call from Savannah just days earlier. Their lawyer had mentioned that prison overcrowding, especially in women-only facilities, might push Julie into a new housing situation, one that involved shared recreational grounds and vocational programs with male inmates, some of whom had histories of assault and gang affiliations. How does that make sense? Chase had barked over the phone, barely letting Savannah speak. Why would they send Mom somewhere even more dangerous? Savannah didn't have answers. None of them did. The system was bigger than them. And despite their pleas, petitions, and podcasts, the government was trying everything. He'd spent days calling prison advocacy groups, emailing senators, even speaking to former inmates who had been through similar transfers. The stories he heard made his stomach lurch. Women who were groped during shared vocational training sessions. Female inmates who were harassed by male kitchen staff. And worst of all, tales of corruption, guards who enabled it all, who punished women who spoke up by throwing them into solitary. Julie Chrisley was strong in her own right, but she wasn't built for that kind of war. Chase feared the psychological toll more than anything. "I don't want her to become someone else," he confided during a podcast interview. "She's already changed so much. She's quieter, sadder. But if they put her around violent men, I don't know if she'll make it out the same person." Social media caught fire after that interview. #FreeJulie trended for hours. Fans flooded the Federal Bureau of Prisons with messages of concern. Even a few public figures shared support, noting that nonviolent offenders, especially those with no history of behavioral issues, shouldn't be forced into high-risk environments. Still, Chase wasn't convinced anyone in power was really listening. His latest visit with Julie had left him shaken. She wore a brave smile, but he saw the cracks in her armor. When he brought up the possible transfer, her eyes dropped to the floor. "They told me not to worry," she said quietly, "that it's just a routine adjustment. But Chase, I don't feel safe." That was all it took. That confession, soft and scared, lit a fire in him. He walked out of that prison vowing to use every connection he had. Reality TV might not carry the same weight it once did, but Chase was ready to scream into every mic he could find. If his mom ended up in a place where violence spilled across gender lines, it would be on the system's hands. But it wouldn't be without a fight from him. Back in Nashville, Chase and Savannah doubled their efforts. They recorded a raw, emotional podcast episode that pulled no punches. "My mother is in danger," Chase declared. "She has no weapons, no protection, no husband by her side. And now they want to move her somewhere she could be prey." The clip went viral. Journalists reached out. Advocacy groups offered legal advice. Former inmates sent Julie letters of encouragement and warned her about what to expect. Still, Chase felt the clock ticking. He'd learned one thing about prison bureaucracy. It moved fast when you didn't want it to, and slow when you begged for mercy. That night, he prayed harder than he had in months. Not just for his mother's safety, but for clarity, for strength, for the ability to fight this shadowy force that seemed hell-bent on breaking her spirit. Julie was no criminal mastermind. She wasn't violent. She wasn't a flight risk. She was a mother, a grandmother, a woman who once baked cookies on television and reminded America to keep the faith. And now she was facing a terrifying unknown because of a system that didn't see the person, only the number. Chase wouldn't let her become invisible. He wouldn't let the world forget that his mom was still in danger. Because the idea of Julie Chrisley, gentle, graceful Julie, being within reach of violent men,